month in
There's
child.
women who get judgments like that.
Right, exactly. So I think that in this particular case, he was lucky. So the idea that he's saying, look, I made $20 million a year, I made 214 million, almost $250 million in my NBA career, and now I can't pay 62.50 a month in child support. It makes you ask yourself, like, what were you doing with all that money? You know,
Blowing it.
Right, right. Like, what were you doing with all? What were you doing with that? And who let you blow that money? What kind of friends did you have around you that let you take that amount of money and throw that away? Do you know that that is generational wealth? That's most corporations don't make that level of money. A lot of big like companies that employ hundreds of people don't make that kind of money. They don't make that much in profit in a year, right? So, what is happening here that led you to take that money and blow that much money over time? Um, what are your thoughts, Norman?
I have one idea. um, I don't know what he did with his money. I'm not going to say I know. But one thing I can tell you, boys, having been around numerous millionaires, is that what happens when you become a millionaire or when your income increases, suddenly you have lots of relatives that you didn't know about with their hands out. And you also just seem to have lots of friends who suddenly need to stare at the ceiling when the bill comes. when you're out eating or drinking or whatever it is. And it may not seem like much, but people really will take on this thing of spending your money for you and with you, even though they're not earning it for you or with you. And that can take a toll on an income, any income, depending on how many of those people there are around you. And then I'll still go back again to my original point. Your habits are what really will decide for you. If you're a person with habits that leak out more money than is coming in, and in the end, there's not going to be any left. That's just how it works.
Well, I agree with you. A lot of the NBA players that go broke, they tend to go broke not just for not for necessarily being financially silly. A lot of them go broke for being extremely generous. They become like almost like these walking foundations or walking charities or walking welfare offices for people that that have a financial problem. And you get caught. And a lot of it doesn't just happen to rich NBA players. It happens to anybody. Know this? Anybody have this experience in your own family where you're the one person who is successful and you're making lots of money and you're doing better than most of your relatives? So maybe out of survivor's guilt, because you feel bad. You feel like they just weren't as lucky or as blessed as you, even though a lot of times it's because you worked hard and you went to college and they chose not to or whatever. Because they weren't as blessed as you feel like you've got to like pay the bill. Like you go out to eat, you always have to pay. Whether it's a financial problem, you always have to, be the one that helps to cover it. I don't know if anybody goes through that, but I noticed that in the community, there's a lot of survivor's guilt, financial survivor's guilt in the black community. And what happens is, that one person that it's like a tree trying to grow out of a pack of weeds almost. Not that your relatives are weeds, but I'm talking about just bad economic soil. You're growing out of bad economic soil where that tree eventually dies because the tree can only grow so much in bad soil, right? So in bad economic soil, one symptom of it is having people that are quicker to come to you to take your money or ask for your money than they are to come and offer you money or help you out or give you financing or support you. I want to say thank you to Tony Smith for your donation. I appreciate it. I made you a moderator. Tony says, why are the courts so strict about giving millionaires payment reductions? I know brothers who have payment reductions they couldn't afford. Okay, so why are they so strict about giving millionaires payment rate? Well, I don't know. Do you think that there was a bias? Like, do you think that he was mistreated because he's a millionaire, no Malika? Or do you think that it was fair? Or do you think that he got special treatment? What do you think?
Look, we don't even know how many other children he had, right? It could just be that sometimes people pay low child support because they're spreading around, and I'm not saying that he did, because they're spreading it around, not just one child or not just one household. He could have had a great lawyer. He could have had a stupid, quote-unquote, baby mama who didn't demand more. There's so many things that we don't know because the article doesn't state them. But I also wanted to say, boys, that what you're describing is what Trevor Noah calls the black tax. Where being successful as a black person naturally means that if you grew up in in a humble beginning, if you had a humble beginning, it means that now you're taxed over and over and over and over again by other Black people who have the expectation that, you made it out of this township or this ghetto or whatever it is, and now we have a right to whatever you're making.
Well, I don't have a big problem with the black tax to a point. I think that everybody should get back to where they came from. I do believe
Right.
that. I think that what we have to realize too, though, is that the black tax has to go in two directions. If you get taxed, you're getting taxed because you're receiving some sort of benefit. You're supposed to theoretically, or So to me, as much as we expect successful people to give back to the hood, if you will, the hood should be giving to those people. So if you want money out of your cousin who went to the NBA, you got to figure out like what value are you giving them back? What are you doing to help? Are you coming to work for that person and adding real value? Because work, you don't deserve a salary for being in the entourage. Like that's something I think. Like when I advise athletes, I'm like, well, if a person can't add value to your life and you're supporting them financially, then you're going to lose. They're a parasite. They're going to drain you, and you're getting nothing back in return. Whereas LeBron James, took care of a lot of his friends. It almost seems to me, I'm not sure, I don't know LeBron, but it seemed to me that the understanding is, look, if you add value, and I can even open the door for you. I can send you to school. I think he sent one of his friends to school to be a cook or chef or something. He sent another friend to business school. I don't know. I don't know all the details, but I've heard, I've just sort of heard these things through the grapevine. I said, my gosh, this is so intelligent that this man is, reaching out to his friends and taking good care of them in that way. And so I would say that, the problem with the black tax is when you have somebody that has no ambition, no skill, no financial responsibility, no sense of that whatsoever. And they're just bringing you one financial problem after another, and you're just literally doling out the checks, just throwing